Welcome to the Up-Level Dairy Podcast. This is the podcast for dairy owners, managers, and their trusted advisors who are looking to take themselves and their businesses to their next level of performance, resilience, and success in the dairy farming business. I'm your host, Peggy Coffeen, and it's my mission to bring you the stories and thought leaders to help take you to your next up level. Our guest today on the Up-Level Dairy Podcast is the man and the man bun that many of you know as TDF Honest Farming on Facebook and Instagram. We are talking with Derrick Josi from Wilsonview Dairy in Tillamook, Oregon today. So if you are thinking about adding technology to your dairy and wondering how to get buy-in from your team, you know that this guy is the one that's going to give you straight talk, because he just went through an expansion, built a rotary, and now has data for days. Welcome to the Up-Level Dairy Podcast, Derrick Josi.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and Derrick, you fit right in to the High-Performance Mindset Series, which is powered by Nedap. Nedap is future-proofing dairy farms by revolutionizing cow-side care through technologies and activity monitoring, cow locating, milk metering, and identification. And you can listen to more episodes of Up-Level Dairy Podcast for this series throughout 2023. And that'll be a little bit about what we're touching on today with you, Derrick. And so a lot of people out there follow your pages through TDF Honest Farming online, and if they do, they know that Wilsonview Dairy has been going through a lot in the last year or so, some major shifts. So for those that don't follow you, give us the rundown of where your dairy was, size-wise, technology, all of that, a year and a half ago, and where you're at today.
Yeah, absolutely. So a year ago, we were in our old facilities, which are located about a half mile away from our current facilities, which we built from the ground up. Not just a rotary, it was everything. We had no activity monitoring. We had no RFID tags. We had a totally different DHI system, cow system. Oh gosh, didn't have an auto sort gate. Had to manually catch cows. Everything. We added everything, because why not just all at once?
Why not, right? And you also expanded your herd too, right?
Yes. Yeah, we were at 500. In the current facilities, when we're at capacity, be at roughly 1,100 cows.
Okay. So why not build a green site, add a bucket load of technology, and double your herd size all in a year? I mean, Why not, right?
And add employees and yeah.
Yeah, and add employees. So technology, employees, and that's are going to be some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. And so just give us a quick snapshot of the rotary. What size rotary did you put in?
Yeah, we put a D-Label 50 stall rotary, and I always forget what the exact not brand, but numbers it is. But it's one of their heavy duty ones, and I love it. It is a phenomenal milking platform. It is one of the best decisions I ever made. Now, break-in, that first few days, I was questioning everything about my life, but now it's just an amazing way to milk cows.
How were you milking before? What was your setup?
It was a double 12 herringbone. And our holding bin, we were the typical dairy farmers. Originally, it was like a double 4 side opener, and there was the holding bin, and then we added them with the double 8, but we couldn't expand forward, so they built it on the side. So our holding bin, the cows came in and had to do a 90-degree turn, go up a ramp. It was, not ideal for cow flow at all. So that's another thing I love about these facilities. Everything is designed with cow comfort and cow flow in mind.
Yeah, and you started a greenfield site, so you could make it exactly what you wanted.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. So like we said, like lots of changes in a year's time here. And, often with change comes challenge. So for our other producers out there, I think they'd be curious to know what area of this whole project has been the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge has definitely been the free stalls, believe it or not. We
Mm.
went from mattresses to a deep vet pack free stall situation. And I really underestimated the amount of time and energy to make sure that those stalls stay right, are conditioned right. And, with the mattress, some people we always put a little layer of chopped straw on top just to make them look prettier. And it's a whole different ball game with these stalls. And well, I made some rookie mistakes. Like my manure system's not designed for sand, but I put a sand base in the bottom. So we're in the process of pulling all the sand back out and reconditioning and starting from scratch again on all the stalls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and is
Quick learning curve.
yeah. And so was sand the only bedding that you're using in the stalls, or were you incorporating something else to kind of top it off?
Yeah, we started with the idea that we would use separated manure solids. We are in the process of building our composting barn right now, and that worked really well for the first week when it was cold and dry. But I'm over in Tillamook, Oregon, and cold and dry is not really our climate. It is wet and warm. And when the normal weather showed back up in November, it was we went straight to shavings after that. And we're gonna attempt some compost this fall once we have it done right, and we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. So, any tips for other producers out there that are going through some shifts and figuring out how to best bed those free stalls? Any tips that you have?
Uh, don't be afraid to put lime in, and if someone's not working, acknowledge it and try and figure out a solution. Don't try and continue to do something that's not going to work.
Yeah, even if it's a lot of work to pull it out, has it been less work once you've made that change?
Yes, it has. I mean, we have a 36-inch culvert that our manure is scraped into, and that was just continually getting filled up with sand. And so by pulling the sand back out, we are having to bring a jetter truck in. It was at the beginning, it was like every week he was having to, and it was an expensive mistake. But it seemed like a good idea. And it
Yeah.
ended up being a disaster.
Well, hey, so here's one of the deals. I knew with you, Derrick, that you would give us the honest, honest feedback. That's like your motto. That's your MO. So I think that's what other producers are really grateful for, is when you can hear about successes, but also some of those hard lessons that you've learned along the way. So thank you for sharing that. But it's interesting because when you talk about all the changes and the challenges, oftentimes one of the things that comes up first is the employee piece. Like, either it's a challenge to find really good employees to grow as you expand, or it's the challenge, to be able to learn how to manage people when you'd much rather talk to a cow all day. So I'm curious that, because you didn't mention that as one of your biggest challenges, tell us a little bit about the employee picture and the culture that you've really tried to create at your dairy.
Well, I've been fairly blessed. I mean, even in the old facilities, we had a steady workforce. Our newest guy at the old facilities, I think, had been with us for 3 years. I mean, we went through a little bit of upheaval moving up here. We had a guy that quit on us because he didn't think he was going to like the new facilities or something. And then we added part of the expansion. I bought a neighbor herd, and our facilities that were supposed to be done in July were not done until November 15th. And by done, I mean they were serviceable. And so we bit the bullet and got up here. So I ended up milking at another dairy for 2 months before we moved up here. So then I'm juggling employees in 2 spots. And then I had a total of 8 employees, 5 at our original farm, and 4 at anyway, it gets jumbled together. But
Holy cow.
some of them, first time they met was the week before we moved up here. So we had some team meetings to introduce the guys, go over things, make sure that it wasn't a surprise that they were going to be working with these people. And then during break-in, we actually made sure that the guys that had been working with each other we split it, a morning shift and an afternoon shift for the first week, so that I was the only idiot that had to be there for like 24 hours a day. Everybody else was 8 to 10 hours, and then they could get some rest.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say there isn't employee challenges in our area, because there is a shortage of employees, but I have some really well-rounded employees that are happy with where they're at. And with these new facilities, it seems like I have people showing up every couple days looking for work.
Wow.
And one of the ways to know that they won't be a good employee is the fact that they ignore that no trespassing, all visitors must check in at the office, and they'll just drive right by the signs and just pull around looking for people. And it's just like, oh, I'm not going to hire somebody that's not even able to follow directions.
Oh, well, it sounds like you've created a place where people want to work. And so, like technology obviously can make some of that easier, but I just do want to visit for a second about the culture. Like, if people are coming to you looking for jobs at your dairy, you're doing something right. So what's kind of your mentality and your outlook on the experience you want your employees to have, the way you want them to think about Wilsonview Dairy?
Well, I'm blessed with a wife that used to work for a medium-sized manufacturing company as their HR rep. And so when we were moving up here, she was forcing this small family farm to take a look at some protocols, making sure that we had things like requests for time off, some standards that have to be there, so that, you don't have people get upset because they needed time off, but, well, you didn't ask until the day before, and our protocols, so this is on you. Making sure that, little things, like I make sure they never run out of coffee in the break room, and I make sure
those are big things.
Those are things. And once a week I bring in donuts and things like that for the guys.
Wait, so you got coffee and donuts? Can I just come work for you? Because you just spoke my two love languages right there.
So little things like that, and having an open door policy where we're in brand new facilities. I don't have all the answers, and I've made it very clear to the guys that, hey, if you see something and you want to try it, talk to me about it. We'll discuss it, and we might implement it. And there's been times like with the freestall barns where the outside guys we're still trying to build the bed pack up and get the center so that the cows index correctly. We've tried a few things. I think we have a pretty decent working protocol going on now, but they've been involved with figuring that out. And it allows them to know that I know that our cows are not indexing right. I know we need to work on that, which allows them to realize, okay, he does care. He does care that these stalls are not where they need to be. And once we get them there, it's going to be better for the cows. And it's also going to be better for the employees, because less work cleaning stalls because the cows are indexed correctly.
Yeah. So you've really just left that line of communication open and received the feedback from the guys that are out there doing it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and you talked about some of the things that you do to make it an environment where people want to come and work with the little things. And I know, when we were visiting the other day, Derrick, you talked too about another, kind of one of those little things that has made a big difference. And that was hiring out a laundry service. So why is that? Why was that a game changer?
Well, at the old facilities, there was always an ongoing argument. So-and-so is not doing their fair share of switching the laundry, the towels, They're not doing this. They're not. I found a very nice service. They bring in fresh towels, 5,000 at a time. We always have more than enough. They're in here twice a week. And while I was at it, they also supply all the bathroom stuff. They supply my medical kit. We can use everything in that kit every week, and they will just fill it all back up every week. Not even batting an eye. They supply coveralls for all the guys, and I'm looking into doing something a little lighter for summertime. Mm-hmm. So they're that in a break room with lockers. So the guys have their own personal space, which a lot of the dairies in our area, they're smaller farms, and people don't really have that. So they come into this facility. They have their own coveralls that are sized for them. They have their own area in the break room. They don't have to do, 1,000 towels worth of laundry a day. They know that we take pride in this facility. I've got guys that every morning they're scrubbing down the rotary, making sure it looks gorgeous, because they know we're going to have people in the viewing area, and they want to make sure that the facilities look the best they can. And I really appreciate that they've bought into that mentality, and I make sure they know. I see what they do, and it just makes employees have to understand that they are an integral part of the operation, and that they're appreciated.
How has technology made your job and theirs more enjoyable?
Oh, well, this is a long list. Let's start with the Nedap, the Alta Cow Watch by Nedap. The collar system is phenomenal. We are catching cows that are going to go off feed before we find them in a stall. Little things like that make it so the outside guys aren't dealing with a cow that's down in a stall. I'm not having to go out there and help. They're being flagged. We sort them through that sort gate, which runs off an RFID tag, which is about 95% of the time. Jerseys are smart. They will crowd rush that damn gate.
Those darn little cows.
Yeah. So we have them waiting for us. We have eyes on them. They go into a special needs area so we can monitor them. That's a very small thing that collar has allowed us to do that pays huge dividends. We have a cow that doesn't go completely off feed, is not down. She's already on the mend. And it goes back to employees too, because they're not dealing with, I'm not saying we don't sometimes still have a cow down, but it's probably 95% less of those than there was before.
Yeah. So as much as the collars are helpful with cow health and that aspect of things, like, you go back to your people too, right? And you're saying that, hey, you're making their life easier, their job easier, but not having to deal with so many sick cows. But I mean, like if you went from no sort gate to now this magical sort gate, like that had to be a game changer.
Funny side note, I took the sorting hat from Harry Potter and I put it on top of it, just as a thing to help people understand what that does, because everybody gets a Harry Potter reference, everybody outside agriculture especially. So, but yeah, that was game changing, especially with the rotary, because the cows are coming off so quickly that trying to sort those manually, that would not work out nearly as well, because now that the cows are used to that gate swinging and doing its thing, it's just nice.
Yeah. Is it like, do you ever have moments where you look out your viewing window and you're just like sip your coffee and like enjoy
every day?
Every single day.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got, obviously we're just touching on, the integration of the collars and the sort gate and what a game changer, that has been. But just speak to a moment for the data. Cause now when you went from really zero, kind of really zero cow side real time data to having data for days. Like,
Yeah.
what's yeah, how are you
So,
sorting through that piece of what you have available now?
I'm using experts from Alta and Nedap to help me adapt to the system. Um, and on the side note, my dad hated the collars to begin with, and not for the reason you think. He was sitting at the computer watching the Nedap tab, just waiting for a cow to flag as an urgent cow. He was just worried that cows were going to pop up there. And so he would spend too much time just staring at the computer screen, waiting for a cow to get flagged. So he's gotten used to it now. And he realizes that if a cow's flagged urgent, it doesn't mean she's down in the stall. It means, hey, let's catch her coming off the parlor this afternoon or this morning, and let's take a look at her. But before, it was a learning curve for him, for sure.
Yeah. He was like ready and waiting to jump when there was a flag, and just, and it wasn't finding the flags, which is great. So has dad learned to just like trust in the system and trust in the process a little bit?
He's really enjoying the collars now. Definitely is.
Yeah.
But back to the data, I mean, these collars keep track of where the cows are at in the barn. They show rumination time. And to begin with, our whole herd was flagged for rumination because we feed a lot of fine materials, whether it's mill run or canola meal or things like that. So the cows aren't having to work as hard, and they aren't having to ruminate as much with their feed. And
okay.
So once the data became normalized for our herd, it wasn't flagging our pins anymore, but it was, we're like, oh, but the experts are like, no, you guys your ration is finer than a lot of herds. So
that's where it's good to just really have that like tech support to talk you off the ledge when you thought that you were going to have like
the whole
500
herd.
Ds. Yeah. Well, especially when your cows are going through so many changes, right?
Yeah.
And like you probably anticipate, hey, there's going to be a time where we're going to experience maybe, some more stress on the cows and, adapting to that. But it sounds like that part has gone pretty well. So speak to a moment on the breeding side of things too. What would in the past, in your past life, what was it like, catching cows in heat and getting cows bred, and how has that changed with the technology that you have available now?
So we were all visual. So there was times where we were very good, and then there was times where we probably missed a few cows. With the collars, with the Nedap system, we're getting a lot more cows bred a lot sooner in their lactation. I'm looking forward to 23/24 data because, 22 was a mix of the old farm and breaking in the new facilities. So I think we'll see a huge difference by the end of 2024.
Yeah. So any wins? What are your wins so far with what you've been able to see a difference in?
Oh, definitely getting more cows bred. I mean, we don't have an off-sync program or anything like that. Our days in milk at first breeding is dropping. Everything is going in the right direction, which is what you would hope with the collars. So it's not a huge surprise to see it, but it's good to see that in the data.
Yeah. And so, okay. So that's been the good things that you're starting to see. And as you said, the real results are yet to come as you have more data as cows, go through more cycles and lactations to really take a good look back at that. But sometimes that initial adaptation to something new, in addition to all your other new in this last year, can be a learning curve. And so I'm just curious, what was the process like? And I know you'll be honest, the good and the bad. What was the process like of getting everyone, as in like every person and every cow, onboarded, collared up, and up to speed with a new system?
The getting the collars on was simple because Alta brought it through and they did it all. So that was It worked
Yeah.
perfectly.
Well, and I saw some of your videos, and it was fun because I was like, oh, I see Tara Bonhart
Yep.
and I see Josh Gerbitz. And
Yep. Oh,
so I was like, oh, look at all these guys that showed up. And Josh, by the way, just so you know, Josh had to miss one of my dairy quiz bowl practices that he helped me
oh,
coach so that he could be putting your collars on.
and it was
So
right after Christmas, so I appreciate them showing up.
no, but that's pretty cool that that you had the help getting that part of it done. How about getting like you said, dad had to kind of go through this phase of learning how to really
Mhm.
use the data. How about on the employee side?
I mean, when you have employees that are used to the old ways, getting them to remember to do the things the new way can sometimes be challenging. And that includes me. Like I was forgetting to, if a cow was showing heat, I was forgetting to get the heat inputted into the computer. So then I was getting cows on preg check that we were checking to make sure they were cycling, all because I forgot to put a heat in the computer. Little things
Ah,
like that. But, you know, getting readings into the computer right away. We used to just write it on a calendar, and my mother once a month would enter all the breedings. And our system now, that's not, we want it in right away. We want to have it there because I went from, my dad used to do preg check once a month, and with 500 cows, that was a lot of preg checking to do in one day.
that's a big day.
It's a big day. And I switched to weekly, which is why we have to have the buy-in and get the data in, because we are fighting a few cows that nobody got the breed date in. Luckily, we can go back in our phones where, when we're doing the mating and stuff, it's in our phones. So we're able to get the breeding in, and that is getting much better because people have learned that we need to get our data in.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there, but it sounds like you've been able to kind of look at, have different resources you can pull together to get the accurate stuff that you need. And so I'm curious for you because my impression, Derrick, of you and probably your family as well is like you guys are like cow people, right? Like
Yeah.
you're cow, what I would call cow people. Like, cows, you love cows. Like I bet your dad, is he one of those guys, and maybe you too, that like he like looks at a cow and he can just be like, yep, there's something wrong, right? Like, is that you guys?
That's definitely us. But what drives me insane is my mom and my dad can smell ketosis on a cow.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's,
They
they
did,
can't smell anything else, right, in the world, but they can smell ketosis.
but they didn't pass that gene on to me. But one thing that could have helped me in life, they didn't pass on.
Oh, but yeah, so like mom and dad are cow people. Even if you can't sniff out ketosis from a mile away, you're still a cow guy.
Yes.
So like just speak to a moment of like how your world has changed from going from like, being right there with cows every day and having people, to growing a team, having more cows, having, the tech to support it. Like, how's your world changed? Good or what? And is there anything you miss about the way it used to be?
Dude, no, because I'm still out with the cows. I'm still walking the herd, and the technology has allowed me to still care for the cows the way I was able to with a smaller herd on a larger scale. It's allowed me to focus on the cows that need my attention versus maybe missing one or two of them because there's just more cows. And so it is a great tool that assists me in continuing to provide the best care for the cows that I can. So
Yeah.
it's
That makes
nice.
sense. So as you've grown and scaled, like this has been the thing that allows you to still have your hands on cows, but not on everything. Is
Right. Yep.
is that a way to look at it?
And it's allowed me to trust that my employees are able to deal with and take care of cows. Because I mean, I can access the data, I can access my security feeds from anywhere. So I know it has allowed me to feel a little more comfortable about not being here.
Yeah. Yeah. And how does that, I mean, what difference does that make, for you? Cause like your dad, you got kiddos, you got a family, and, like you probably grew up in the barn like I did, right? Like,
Yep.
and your whole schedule was set around milking.
Yep.
But that's not the world we live in anymore, is it?
It sure isn't. And so having a good team here allows me to have a life outside of the farm. And that's one of the things I'm actually really looking forward to. My wife, barrel races, I know, horses, yada, yada, yada.
Wasn't going to say it. Wasn't going to say it.
But you know what? It's probably cheaper than drugs. Or arguable. So,
but it's like kind of the same, isn't it? No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
It is a lot like it. But I mean, she goes to these events where we have a nice living quarters horse trailer. And I actually enjoy going and just being the camp cook and just relaxing. And I'm looking forward to being able to do that a couple times during the summer, where I take a long weekend and I just camp in a nice modern camper. So
and now you can. Now you can, right?
And if I'm worried, I can grab my phone and check out my security feeds and make sure that I don't have 500 cows out on the highway.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the real question is, do you get on a horse and barrel race?
I am 6'4", 300 pounds. I feel sorry for any horse that I try and get on. So no, I do not. And I'm not insane. That is a high speed chase around barrows on dirt with that 1,500 pound animal. That's an insane hobby, but I'm glad my wife enjoys it.
Well said, husband. Well said. Oh, that is awesome. So Derrick, like, on this podcast, you get to speak to other dairy producers, where on social media, you're speaking to dairy producers and a whole lot of other people.
Yes.
But for this group today, like, what's your advice for other producers out there that are like you and, going through these changes and adaptations so that you can have a business that's going to fit your life, fit your family, be profitable, be sustainable. And by sustainable, not just environmentally, but like as business wise sustainable. What's your advice to others that are where you were at, a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, as you were starting to really think about what you needed to do at your dairy to make all that possible?
Come up with a plan, first of all. I've had blueprints on my fridge at my house since 2012.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a long process. There were stages. I think it was 2015, we built our new commodity facilities and our bunkers up out of the floodplain where I planned on having my facilities. It's been a slow moving train to get to this point. A lot of people just see the last sprint at the end, but there was a lot of planning, a lot of thought, a lot of buy-in from my bankers to get to this point. And do your research. I mean, it's got to fit what you want. Don't just do something because everybody else is. If it's not going to be a style of farming that you want to do, then don't do it. It's part of the thing I love about the dairy industry is every dairy is a little different, because every dairy farmer has a little bit different lifestyle and a little different style on their farms. And none of them are wrong, with the caveat that the farm is designed to take care of their animals and provide a healthy, nutritious product. Then none of those are wrong. So
well said. And DMI is like giving you the 5 gold stars there for talking points on that one. Well trained, Derrick. Well trained.
Well,
Oh, but hey, it's the truth. It's the gosh darn truth. So thank you for speaking that, because we knew that's what we get with you. So, and Derrick, okay, so this has been fun. We've gotten to talk about the dairy. We've gotten to talk about the tech side and, just kind of this journey along the way. But this is a part of the podcast where I get to just probe you for a few more questions. And now it's clear you live a pretty transparent life online. But I think what we might uncover here are some things that maybe people haven't heard about there also with the Up Level 5. So these are the 5 questions I like to have my podcast with that are all about your next level, personally, professionally, of performance, goals, and up leveling yourself. And so, Derrick, question number 1 I have for you is, what does success look like to you? What's your definition of success?
Success to me, I'm going to do it on several levels. On the dairy side is for building a facility and a business that is sustainable for generations to come. I am 4th generation. I would love to see, if my children choose, another 4 generations to carry on the Wilsonview legacy.
Aww.
That is there. On a personal level, it is having happy, healthy kids and wife, definitely wife.
Happy wife, happy life.
That are able to follow and do what they want and be successful in their own right, whether that is coming home to the farm or wanting to go be an engineer, hopefully something that pays the bills. But that is on the personal side, is making sure that my family is healthy, they are doing well, and they are successful in their own right and not the way I think that success is measured. Because it's not always, success doesn't mean the most money. It doesn't mean the nicest things. And if one of my family, one of the kids just wants to be a beach bum and live at the beach, I mean, some days I think that might be a much better option than all the things I've got going on. So,
well, now that you pulled the sand out of the stalls, you kind of killed that dream if they were going to stay local. But no. But no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And Derrick, in 3 words, how do you want to show up each day?
Positive, intelligent, and honest.
Oh, good ones. And that's true to you. So my quick follow-up question there is, how do you do it? Because that is how you show up. You show up like in front of like literally thousands of people on a daily basis as that. So what's your key to being like mentally strong, mentally tough, having the mindset so that even when you have, people that are sputtering things online and arguing with what you do and all that stuff, like how do you stay, positive and keep doing all the things that you're doing?
Well, so see, this is tricky because I don't. There is days where I am not positive, and there are days that I don't hit the mark on everything. And part of it is being honest with yourself and realizing that. And like on my social channels, usually I do a Sunday live Q&A. Well, a little over a week and a half ago, we lost my brother-in-law to a tragic accident.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I haven't done the last 2 live Q&As because I've known I'm not in the mental state. And on Sunday, I did a video explaining, this is where I'm at. I am not in a state where I should be doing this. And I was just honest. And sometimes you are not going to hit the mark on your goals. And that's where the honesty of acknowledging that this is not me. This is not who I try to be, but there's not anything I can do about that right now because I'm working through the grieving process. And right now I'm pretty pissed off at the whole world. So,
yeah. Well, but that goes back to your goal of showing up honest every day. Yeah. Yeah. Even when it's hard, and I bet people appreciate that even more because those experiences are, touch us in so many different ways. So it's about more than just cows and dairy farming, isn't it?
Yeah. And honestly, ironically, people knew that there was something wrong with me before I actually let people know, because there was people asking in the comments, Derrick, there's something wrong. You are not yourself. What is going on? And so you get that level of, I don't know if it's their fans or they're just people that are that invested in my life that they notice, even though I'm trying not to acknowledge what's going on in my life because I was still processing it, they could tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and people care about you. So that's not a bad thing either, right?
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah. And so, okay, Derrick, question number 3 for you. This is an interesting one because I always ask people who are some of the thought leaders that they follow. And, for some, it's people that share online, or maybe it's an author, or even a family member. You have millions of people following you. Who do you look toward? Like, who are the thought leaders that you look at?
This is going to come off as a very cheesy because it's not somebody online. It's not somebody, but it's actually my wife.
Oh, you are just scoring the points, Derrick.
No, she just keeps me really grounded in reality and reminds me that even though I have all this stuff going on, that it's important to be available for the people that actually matter in my life, which are my kids and my family and my employees, that, social media and everything could shut down tomorrow. And this thing I have going on in the real world is far more important than anything I could be doing online.
Oh, what a good woman.
Let's be sometimes she has to beat me over the head with a frying pan almost to get me to realize that, maybe I need to pull my head out of my butt. But
again, what a good woman.
Yes. But she is the person I bounce all my ideas off of. And she is the person that goes, no, you have way too much going on. You are not taking on one more thing.
Yeah. So, well, that's a good one to share. Thank you for that. And question number 4, what words do you live by?
It's my profile picture. It's the writing on there. It says, be honest, even if others are not, even if others will not, even if others cannot. He who walks it honestly walks securely.
Oh, where'd you get that one from?
I don't remember where I got that quote, but it's what I try to live by.
Yeah. Well, and you do it. You do it, friend. Awesome. And next question, my last question of the up level 5. What's your next personal up level? I mean, this is like a loaded question because you have been up leveling everything in your life and in your business in the last, year here. You've been in action mode. So
I don't know any other mode. I don't know any other mode. So this is a multi-level process. I want to build my visitor center.
Oh, nice.
But in order to do that, Casey and I, that's my wife, have to decide whether we are going to make our house into a compound with fencing and gates because we are 100 yards from the new facilities, or we have a property that we have to build a house, which will give us the privacy that we need because I do have, random death threats online. I have all the things that come with being followed by people online. And we don't want to have that kind of exposure if we built the visitor center. So it was a 5-year plan, but it's probably going to end up being a 2-year plan. We're in conversations with the builder to build. That's probably the route we're going to go. And then next year, or 2024 is next year now. We'll probably start looking at designs and building a visitor center.
Wow. Well, exciting. And the rest of us will be along for the ride following you and this journey. And speaking of that, for those that are listening that don't currently follow you, tell our listeners where they can find you and follow your journey of not just advocating, but also going through expansion, technology, and as we just learned, probably adding a visitor center in the next couple of years. Where can people find you and follow you, Derrick?
You can find me at TDF Honest Farming on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, but I need to get better about posting on there. I am also on Twitter as at Derrick Josi and LinkedIn, and I have a new podcast.
Yes.
I don't have enough going on, so I thought I'd dip into that. It's called The View from the Milk Barn, and I'm gearing that more, well, just like all my social channels, more towards, it's a weekly thing where I touch on relevant things in agriculture that the general public does not know about, that they probably should in order to make good decisions about their health and well-being and their food, and maybe help agriculture combat some of the legislation that we have going on right now.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Derrick, thank you so much for joining us on the Up-Level Dairy podcast. This episode was part of the High-Performance Mindset Series powered by Nedap. Nedap is future-proofing dairy farms by revolutionizing cow-side care through technologies and activity monitoring, cow locating, milk metering, and identification. Listen for more episodes in this series throughout 2023. Thank you for listening to the Up-Level Dairy Podcast. I'm your host, Peggy Coffeen, and if you like what you heard today, go ahead and head on over to upleveldairy.com to read the blog and join the Up-Level Dairy email list so you can receive new podcasts, blogs, and special offers coming soon from Up-Level Dairy straight in your inbox. To listen to more episodes, head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, and don't forget to rate and review. Connect with me, Peggy at upleveldairy.com, and follow Up-Level Dairy on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.